Hey everyone, welcome to the Modern Merchant Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Merrier, CEO of Flxpoint. Today we've got Matt Smith from Prevail Ventures. He's the president over there. And, me and Matt were talking a couple days ago about the outdoor industry, the future of the outdoor industry and things like that. And I said, Matt, let's jump on the podcast. This is super interesting. Matt, glad to have you, man.
Yeah, happy to be on.
Cool. If you don't mind just kind of jumping in and give us a quick background about Prevail.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we're happy to be on this podcast. Appreciate the partnership that we have with Flxpoint. And Prevail Ventures is an e-commerce company that we focus largely on and historically on the outdoor space. Recently, we've expanded our product catalog into some mainstream products, some in the equestrian space, pet supply. And so today we're focused on continuously growing e-commerce. At one point in time in our history, we had an independent retail store. We have since sold that retail store off, but we stay focused today on e-commerce. We had started largely in the outdoor space, specifically in the archery categories, have expanded more to offer a wider assortment of outdoor-centric products in the general hunting space on bowhuntersuperstore.com. We do business on Amazon today, we do business on Walmart, and we also do business on eBay. And we're going to be rolling out a new website as well, most likely in the next month or two. So excited to talk about that one as well.
Yeah, let's jump right in. Love to kind of hear about that. Let's hear.
Yeah. So our new focus will be to expand the product category beyond the outdoor sector. And so we're going to be launching a website called primeassortment.com. We will be focused on offering products for really any consumer that's into the vast majority of products ranging from equestrian to pet supplies to home goods. We're going to have some outdoor gear on that, but it won't have a heavy hunt-centric feel like some of our other brands do. So under Prevail Ventures, we have, as I had mentioned, bowhuntersuperstore.com. And bowhuntersuperstore.com has historically focused specifically, and similar to what you would think from the name, in the archery vertical. And so we still have a heavy tie to that space. It's a large passion of ours, the outdoor category. It's still a large portion of our business. And so what we wanted to do was take some of the technology that we had built and offered on bowhuntersuperstore.com and begin to offer a similar assortment, similar service, similar experience on primeassortment.com. So we're working on that site now. Our team is deep into the dev, and we're projecting to go live sometime in late April or early May. So when we step back as we move into 2024, e-commerce is always evolving, as you know. It's moved at a real swift cadence over the course of the last 5 years, and we wanted to continue to diversify our product catalog, which was the primary reason for creating Prime Assortment. And we've seen that over the years as we've offered products in many of those categories outside of outdoors, outside of archery specifically, on Amazon, on eBay, and recently on Walmart. And they've performed relatively well for us. And so we've never wanted to lose sight of the ability to be able to provide superior customer service and great care to our customers along the way. And so we've taken it slow with rolling out Prime Assortment, but we're confident when we launch it, it's going to be right. We're excited to do it. It's going to be our widest assortment yet. We traditionally sit on about 30,000 SKUs on bowhuntersuperstore.com. So it's a lot of product on there, but Prime Assortment is most likely going to have a few 100,000 SKUs when we launch. Excited to have a new width of catalog, excited to be able to interface with Google Shopping in ways that we haven't been able to historically do in specifically the outdoor space. We're looking forward to it. Our team is working really hard to get that done and hopefully be able to meet that timeline of late April, early May.
Yeah, that's great. And have enough a couple months under your belt before the Q4 push kind of happens. Awesome. Yeah. So as you kind of grow into this larger assortment, if you will, on Prime Assortment. How are you guys going to continue to differentiate? You mentioned customer service, but I'm just curious. It sounds like almost maybe, not the breadth of an Amazon, but an Amazon type experience where just about anything you want. How are you guys going to differentiate from your competitors? And I don't know if you're going to consider Amazon as a quote unquote competitor in this space or not, but how do you think about your competitors and how do you differentiate that?
That's a good question. So it's one we've asked ourselves when we entered into the strategic planning process for the development of Prime Assortment and for the development of continually expanding our assortment in general. And as you know, when you're in one specific category that has a higher seasonality to it, it's important to be able to introduce diversification so that you can offset those periods of the year where sales are slower. Our focus was to do it in a way that was strategic and do it in a way that had sustainability to it, where we weren't pushing out products that we didn't feel aligned with the assortment, the direction of the brand. And so stepping back and even using bowhuntersuperstore.com as an example, again, we work very closely with the archer, the outdoor enthusiast. And so some of the things we've done on that platform that do differentiate us, we've done things what we call an option category block below the primary product, where we offer customers the ability to be able to purchase a product and in that same product field view be able to see what works in conjunction with that product. So not necessarily a you may also like, but this is something that we feel would be a positive benefit in conjunction with this product that you're viewing. And so we've built that technology into our website. It wasn't a part of a theme. It wasn't a plugin. So we had to spend some dev time there doing that. And what we have found is that by doing that, customers have a better experience and they have an opportunity to be able to buy a product by simply seeing it and recognizing that it interfaces or operates directly in conjunction with the product that they're looking at on that page. So what we envision doing, Travis, ultimately are some similar things on primeassortment.com where we can make it easy. As you know, the absence of friction relative to the cart, the process ultimately prevails. And so we learned a lot over the last 2 to 3 years about what works and what does not work. We've piloted a few experimental integrations into our existing website. Some have worked, some have not. We try to fail fast if it doesn't work so that we can quickly move in another direction. And we've recognized the value of being explorers in e-commerce. And so as to not make an assumption that it is this way today, so it needs to be that way tomorrow. And I think that's really important when you're looking at e-commerce and you're looking at the website, or if you're looking at third party, which we can get into as well. But specific to websites, you have limitations to some extent, depending on the platform, depending on the framework that you're operating within. But we enjoy pushing the boundaries of that ultimately to provide our customers with a better experience, a wider range of products, and ultimately be able to give them an enjoyable purchasing experience. Because at the end of the day, on a site like bowhuntersuperstore.com, these are passionate enthusiasts, much like myself, who enjoy that sport. And when they get on that platform, we want them to have a good experience. We want them to see the new product. We want them to have the ability to be able to recognize how they can become a better archer, how they can become a better hunter, and we want to co-author that journey with them. So we've learned a lot, not only from customer service, from reducing friction at the cart level, from ultimately being able to make sure that the customer has the ability to be able to provide feedback. Today, we offer free shipping on everything of our website. So when you get on there, it could be a $15 item all the way to a $1,500 item. We offer free shipping, so we try to make it incredibly easy. If you're on our website, it ships for free. So we've learned a lot on that model, and as you know, e-commerce has changed a lot over the last 5 years. And we've done some exploratory analysis relative to our peers, relative to other e-commerce spaces. We have a tendency to look outside of our space to see what others are doing. to see where gains are being made relative to e-commerce advancements. There's a lot of great things that are occurring out there. And so we try to reserve the right to get smarter and understand that if there's an opportunity to do what we do today on bowhuntersuperstore.com better, but then we're going to try to continually do that. So while the platform's even strong today, it's very robust, it's operating very well, we've got some great things in store for that platform over the course of the next 2 years.
There's one part of that I really want to dig into that I thought was super interesting was the free shipping from $15 item to $1,500 item. I know you guys have a distributed fulfillment model. You have dropship incorporated. How did you get that dialed in to where you feel confident ordering free shipping? And you don't have to give all the secret sauce away, but that's one of the biggest questions we hear. It's like, how do you drop ship and figure out the shipping and get that dialed in? Love to know some input on that.
Yeah, so we'll certainly keep some things confidential, but other things happy to share with you. At the high level, we have built technology that ultimately allows us to be able to run analysis across the entire United States based on dimensions and ultimately determine what a product in conjunction with its package method, its final exterior package method, how it will ship. And ultimately then running that said product through a variety of different formulations and a tool that we have built that's totally proprietary to us that allows us to be able to run hundreds of thousands of SKUs through that final shipment size to ultimately come up with a projection. Now, what I will say is that projection, it's not always right. So there are orders in some cases where we recognize that projection was wrong. And so what we do, Travis, every single day in our organization is we look at wins and losses. And so we look at wins and losses, and we look at wins and losses, and we, again, want to make sure that we're providing value. We don't look at freight as a necessary profit center for us. We're focused on freight serving as essentially a break even because we want to provide value to the customer. And ultimately, we want to make sure that the customer is able to get the product quickly and on time, has clean tracking, and has the ability to have ultimately a great experience with our platform, whether that be bowhuntersuperstore.com, primeassortment.com, whether it be eBay or Walmart. We want them to have a good experience with us. So when we look at those reports, we found in many cases in the very beginning that this was going to be really difficult to be able to determine how to manage this well. As you know, as I know, we speak to a lot of people in this space, a lot of other executives that are trying to figure out, how do I get a handle on freight? It was a large part of the impetus behind, truthfully, why we invested the CapEx into creating our own software, essentially, that we could run all of this through, that allowed us to be able to place in factors that ultimately gave us the comfortability on the other side to push that information up. Because, as you know, you're pushing, in our case, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of SKUs, and you're putting projected freight up. Well, you don't have history, so you're taking a chance. It's another part of the entrepreneurial journey of what we do. But in the spirit of exploring opportunity and trying to provide our customers value, we found that in many cases we were too low. We would rather have been too low than too high necessarily in some cases because we didn't want to overcharge our customers. And so it wasn't off by much, but we dial it in every day. And so again, when we go back to looking at it every single day, we look at the winners, we look at the losers. If we're winning too much, oftentimes we'll adjust that down. Again, our goal is not to be greedy relative to freight. We don't want that. We want to be able to pass it on so the customer has a great experience. So when we look at it every day, we make adjustments, we dial it in. And anytime that we have an opportunity to learn and make an adjustment that fine-tunes a category, that fine-tunes a product, that's incredibly important to us. So as an example, to expand upon that, Travis, if there was a large product that had 100 or 200 similar sized products in a category, we will oftentimes take the adjustment we made to that single product and apply it to the category. So therefore, that entire category had an opportunity to become truer relative to what the actual freight projection is. Now, as you know, freight changes frequently. You get into the fourth quarter, you have peak season surcharges, you have somebody like USPS that just rolled out a new program through Ground Advantage.
Yep.
All those things changes. Within our ecosystem that we have built and this proprietary tool set, we have been able to make changes to be able to adapt to that and factors along the way. We could talk about freight all day long. I mean, it's an incredibly integral part of our business. As anyone knows, when you're looking at your balance sheet, you ultimately have to be able to manage that well on e-commerce. And so there are factors that you have to keep in mind in states and then in regions within those states. If you ship out west, could be a more desolate area. It's going to cost more to get it to some of those locations. So it's constantly evolving, but we have made some tremendous progress over the course of the last 2 years, and that's a credit to our team. They do a fantastic job at monitoring that.
Well, it seems like you guys have an extremely talented team. You've dialed in the data and put a big focus there. Like you said, have integrated a lot from your side and done a lot from a technology perspective, and that seems like that's been the differentiator. One of the differentiators you mentioned was focusing on technology and the data. Love to talk about your tech stack. I know a lot of it's in-house. I know we're obviously working together, but can you talk a little bit about your tech stack?
Yeah, happy to. So again, we utilize Flxpoint for a lot. We've got a great partnership with Flxpoint. You guys have done a fantastic job at creating a platform that allows us as e-commerce entrepreneurs to be able to build a portfolio of products and to be able to offer those products on a variety of different channels, whether it be the Amazons, the eBays, the Walmarts, integrating with a BigCommerce or integrating with a Shopify. It's incredibly beneficial to our business model, and we would absolutely consider Flxpoint to be a large portion of our tech stack. And so we do have some middleware that sits around Flxpoint. We have invested in technology, including the shipping tool. That is a large part of our tech stack, as I had mentioned. But we do things different when it comes to the way that we digest information and data specifically. So I'll talk more about from an inbound standpoint and then an outbound perspective. So from an inbound standpoint, we have developed tools and reporting modules, if you will, that allow us to be able to source data and manipulate that data. So as an example, if a partner of ours would provide data to us through API or whatever method they'd be feeding that information to us, we have written parameters within a tool set, a middleware tool set that sits between them and Flxpoint that ultimately manipulates that data in a way that when it goes into Flxpoint, it allows us to do things like variant establishment or parent-child relation of a product. So if it's a jacket, we're able to curate that information and show blue, yellow, and red, rather than push that SKU as 3 SKUs to our website as blue, yellow, and red. As we all know, when we're shopping that jacket, we want to see the options on that page. So that specific technology took us about 6 to 8 months to develop. It needs maintenance constantly as we're pulling in more data to be able to determine how does it assess X category or Y category. But it's been an absolute game changer for us, specifically relative to variance and the parent-child relation of said SKUs, because it gives us the ability to bring that data in and push it up. It doesn't mean that we don't do it without verification. We believe in trust but verify. And so it's important to make sure that when that information is coming in, it's flowing up accurately. But it has given us the opportunity, if a partner of ours gets inventory and we capture that product for the first time, it allows us to be able to push that SKU up very easily and quickly, rather than have to create that SKU, create the variants, list those 3 colors as options, pull that back in as variant 1, variant 2, variant 3. So we move fast. And we try to be incredibly efficient. And so that specific tool from a inbound perspective has been huge for us. And that's an advantage over some of our competitors that I'm confident of.
Yeah, that's great. And this is a part I didn't really know about your guys' setup, but it sounds like you've got a mix of integrating directly with or have pre-built integrations that Flexpoint allows you guys to just quickly tie into. But you're also integrated to our API. Is that a fair assessment that you guys are interchanging with our API and integrating there?
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great to hear. I love that where we've seen that where a lot of customers come to us and go, I love that plug and play integration with these suppliers or this no code mapping tool to this supplier. But, I have some complex things I want to do outside your system as well. And, are also leveraging that hybrid approach with the API. So awesome to see you guys are doing the same thing. And so you guys are obviously very, like I said, talented technical team. What kind of brought you to Flexpoint? What were you trying to solve when you were looking for a solution like Flexpoint?
Yeah, so we were ultimately looking for a solution that would serve as a central repository of all information that would give us the ability to be able to pull in data from many different partners, many different inventory feeds across the country, and ultimately push that into a variety of different channels. And then speaking a little bit, just stepping back for a moment relative to some of the outbound technology we knew we wanted to employ, this had a place in how we were evaluating partners. We knew there were things that we wanted to do different than what was just customary within the space of e-commerce. When we were creating some of the technology inbound, we were working on pricing strategies outbound as well, such as if a competitor makes an adjustment, well, we automatically make an adjustment, and we have a lot of different rules and formulations within that. So when we were looking for a partner, we needed a partner that was constantly moving forward, that we did not necessarily have to push and continue to ask to move down a certain path, but ultimately one that may even make us better and give us the opportunity to have a collectively rising tide. And so when we evaluated Flexpoint, which it's been a little over 2.5 years ago when we started the search, we knew very quickly that Flexpoint was going to be an option for us. So we continued to evaluate a variety of different platforms that were in the market, but ultimately felt very confident that with speaking through a variety of different examples and scenarios with the Flexpoint team, that the Flexpoint would be a great option for us, and certainly do not regret that decision. And Flexpoint's been an absolutely critical partner to us. Every day, our team has interaction with Flexpoint.
No, I appreciate that. And I want to get into some of the outdoor industry stuff we were talking about. But just, selfishly, I'm just always curious of this question of, kind of how you look at Flexpoint as you evaluate us. That's the last Flexpoint question, but like, how do you look at us when it comes to us versus our competitors, like what we're known for? I'm always looking to understand how our customers view us as they kind of stack us against competitors and what our brand is, right? Because as you know, as an entrepreneur and e-commerce guys looking to build brands, that part's so important. So just curious how you view Flexpoint as the brand and versus us in the market.
Yeah, it's a good question. I cannot emphasize the value of saying partner enough. Partnership is everything. As you know, you can rise and fall in partnerships in business, and we feel very confident that we have a partner with Flexpoint. We do business with a variety of different service providers or subscription-centric entities, and those are largely subscription-centric entities and partnerships that require engagement, whether it be some technology, but modules that associate with your e-commerce business to ultimately give you the ability to do business accurately in today's e-commerce world. Flexpoint is one of a few partners that we have on the e-commerce side, and specific to our tech stack, our strongest. And so I would say from a partnership-centric standpoint, we get feedback We had an example recently. We were working through something. Our e-commerce manager worked really closely with Flxpoint, and your team not only provided them an answer, but they provided a variety of different suggestions on how the two entities together could come together and better it for both entities, then ultimately potentially better it for other Flxpoint customers. To me, that's a win. And so I would say I can't stress the importance of partnership enough.
No, that's great to hear, because that's not one that, it makes a lot of sense, but I always love hearing that because it's always a different answer. All right, cool. So jumping into a little bit of what we were talking about, and to catch everyone up, Matt and I were talking a little bit about how the outdoor industry, every industry is a little bit different. Outdoor industry is evolving. There's still a lot of drop shipping that's happening, a lot of trade that's happening. It's not the most tech forward industry, but a lot of it's still kind of rooted in brick and mortar, I think, is what we were talking about, at least the trade relationships. But, companies like Matt at Prevail and what they're doing, and other companies we see, right, the e-commerce push and being a pure play e-commerce company is making more and more sense for more of those guys out there. So I'm just curious how you've seen, has there been an evolution of, opening up, warming up to more, drop shipping, e-commerce, things like that? Is it still kind of far away compared to other industries? How do you look at the industry as a whole, maybe in the last 10 years, if there's been any evolution there to where it might be going, where you hope it's going in the next 10 years upcoming?
Sure. Yeah, no, I agree with you from the standpoint that it's still specific to the outdoor space. It's still largely an influence with brick and mortar retailers, which is great. We want to see that. We had a retail store at some point in time elected to move in a different direction to pursue specific the e-commerce. But what we've seen, and I would say specific to the archery space, is that there are more e-commerce entities that have been deployed that are utilizing drop shipping as an option. It's easier for certain e-commerce entities to be able to interface with a product catalog and utilize a fulfillment service. And the platform where you've seen a pretty significant level of expansion there would be Amazon. I mean, it's where everyone is buying, it's where everyone wants to go. So it's not uncommon when you would affix to an ASIN on Amazon today that you may see 15 different sellers, whereas 3 years ago you might have seen 3 to 5 different sellers. So, and that's a whole nother thing we could get into relative to the management of that. You're seeing brands start to be more mindful of who can sell, who cannot sell. We do a lot of business, for some brands, and then exclusively act as a seller for other brands as well. But it's important to be able to build a relationship. Where I've seen the advantage for our organization is having deep ties to the archery industry and serving on the Archery Trade Association's board of directors. We have an opportunity to see what it looks like in the archery space every year as things change and continue to shift. So I have a huge heart for the sport of archery, a lot of passion about that space. I want to see independent retailers thrive and grow. I think there's a lot of value in that. It's healthy for the industry. It's healthy for the consumer. The consumer has a great experience. So while we're not in that business today, I desire and want to see that business grow and flourish. And I love engaging with retailers, both on a personal level, if you're going there to get a product serviced, or you want to be able to partner with them in some capacity. But you have seen a growth on e-commerce. And specifically fulfillment. Now, where it looks different from our model today is we focus heavily on partnership through the relationships and where we can create new relationships, and ultimately in an effort to create partnerships. So as an example, there are many brands in the outdoor space that we have very strong relationships with. And we may be doing things similar to how a competitor would do business with them today. But what we focus on, and I focus on specifically in my role, is creating a relationship there where there's win-wins. So we will partner with brands, some of the largest brands in the archery space, and we will work with them to either help them liquidate inventory, we will determine how to create strategies. We will make sure that we work with them to operate within their pricing structures. So if they want to see certain things maintained, or we work with them to see certain things maintained. We will work with them to report violations. So we're not just serving as a seller and saying, okay, how many SKUs can I get to how many different platforms, whether it be my own website, Amazon, eBay, Walmart, or the next third-party channel. Our goal is ultimately to be able to partner with that vendor, to come alongside them, as we did, and I met with many vendors in St. Louis this year at the trade show and sat down and said, how can we partner with you in a greater capacity? So you don't see that happening at a really high level across the board relative to fulfillment, because oftentimes e-commerce retailers that are selling product aren't as engaged unless they're buying inventory and holding that inventory. And many of them do a fantastic job at that. There's some really great e-commerce retailers in the archery space that do a fantastic job. And that's great for the space because it's good competition and ultimately the consumer wins. But we focus on partnerships. So I would say that the key differentiator for us and for me specifically with our business is to focus on developing partnerships and making sure that there's win-wins. And being vulnerable enough to take feedback on how we, as a seller, can do better coming alongside.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And having those face-to-face relationships that you talked about, going to and joining trade associations, seems to be the key part of almost the education to suppliers on, it can be a digital first or digital only model as a retailer. And it can work and you can add value still like that. I know, the traditional models, like we add value as a brick and mortar because we have the physical products at our physical location in this geographical location, right? And we have those customers. That's always been the traditional value in retail. But, we see new value showing up in building a brand online, having the technology dialed in, like you mentioned earlier, reducing customer friction, things like that. And I think the education to our suppliers and to all the suppliers looking to not just go direct to consumer online, but to work with partners like yourself is educating. Here's how we add value, right? And so that it takes that extra bit of effort, joining the trade organizations, flying out, going to the trade shows, sitting down and having conversations face to face. But it's companies like you guys at Prevail and, primarily through the Bowhunter Superstore initially, kind of having these, educate them and really just making it better for the industry as a whole, because they might be open to this in the future, and kind of really helping expand this world of e-commerce where there's a lot of value added where you don't need the physical location side of things. So, appreciate that.
Yeah, and totally agree with that. And there's other elements to it that transcend the exchange of doing business. Whereas if you're entering a category, so shifting gears from the outdoor side of it for a moment, we sell equestrian. So if we are working with a partner who we are selling equestrian through Amazon or soon to be primeassortment.com, which will have a large equestrian section, we want to make sure that we've got, one, a good understanding of what are we selling, two, who is the seller, and how can we build a relationship with them, three, that ultimately provides us an opportunity to be able to communicate with them, so therefore providing a better experience to our customer. I think it can be hard for a lot of e-commerce retailers to step back and say, if I am entering this category, should I be entering this category? I think it's important to explore new categories for any e-commerce retailer, but to sometimes be able to understand that there are elements to entering the category that are important to know in advance. And by creating that partnership with that vendor, with that distributor, with that reseller, importer, whoever it may be, it's incredibly beneficial. And when you have an issue, you can pick up the phone and you can call somebody and you know their name. That's tremendously impactful to your business.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I know you guys have a optimistic view of the future of e-commerce and the different industries you're getting into. I'm curious if you had to pick out some challenges, some issues, some barriers you're seeing that you guys are looking forward to tackling. What do you see in your own business, in the industry, in general? What do you think the road ahead? What kind of barriers do you see that you're looking forward to tackling?
So freight is constantly evolving. We've seen a lot of change over the last 6 months. So we're going to continue to key in on that. New products category expansion is exciting for us. So we don't intend to spend any less time on the categories that we've grown and do very well with today, specifically in the outdoor space. In fact, we're adding more resources to be able to support that growth. So excited to see that grow. We've got some great things that maybe on our next call we can talk about relative to the bowhuntersuperstore.com model. We're going to be offering some things that today nobody's offering on e-commerce, but essentially want to make sure that people have the ability to be able to order what they need and are ready to go hunting immediately. So we're introducing some technology there, most likely in the next year and a half. That'll be exciting for that side. I'm really excited about primeassortment.com because what we're focused on is entering categories in a non-third party capacity that give us an opportunity to be able to build new relationships and ultimately new partnerships with consumers.
What do you mean by that, a non-third party capacity? Because you hear 1P, 3P, how are you using it there?
So third party referencing Amazon or eBay, using it as directly our platform. So we've got a great relationship today with Amazon, Walmart, and eBay, but our goal is ultimately to grow our own business direct on a non-third party capacity. We'll still use a similar technology that we use at bowhuntersuperstore.com, similar inventory flows, similar tech stack. But primeassortment.com will have a much broader assortment, as I had mentioned, relative to outdoors, pet supplies, equestrian, home goods. So what's really exciting for us in that, Travis, is that it's a new customer that we do not necessarily interface with today. And so I know our team is excited to create those relationships. It's going really well working with those vendors. Recently, we've had some discussions with some automotive distributors, so excited to be able to enter that category. We've been doing a lot of research in that category over the last 2 years, so I'd say that maybe not day one, but day two, there might be some automotive accessories on primeassortment.com. And so we're excited about the partnership and the opportunity, and we believe that 2024, 2025 holds significant promise for us. I think for e-commerce as a whole it does. You saw considerable fast track growth relative to e-commerce through COVID. You're still seeing that. You're still seeing new websites pop up every day. It's harder to buy a new URL. There's fewer today than there were 3 years ago, so you know that it's happening. The .coms are becoming less available, and you see the other URL.
No more .ais either left. I mean, they're all.
Yeah, if you want a URL, now's the time because it's not going to get any better, most likely. But we're excited about what the future holds for us. We look at the runway; it's long, and we've got tremendous ability to be able to grow our business, and so. We have not reached our peak in any one of the verticals that we operate in. Ultimately, we think there's tremendous opportunity with e-commerce. We think there's great opportunity in some of these more mainstream product categories. We've had some challenges with being able to interface and market certain products in the archery side due to restrictions that are classified as weapons through Meta and whatnot. So we're excited to be able to have more freedom to operate on primeassortment.com. Our team's been doing a great job at developing that, and I can't wait to show it to you.
No, it's great. I love it. I appreciate kind of letting us in on the journey. I appreciate being part of the journey for the last couple of years and looking forward to the journey here the next few years as you guys get into these different categories. Maybe we can meet up at SEMA show for the automotive side next year. That's an awesome show. Have you been to that one yet, or?
I haven't, but it's on the radar.
Yeah, that's a great show, and SHOT Show obviously, and all those are great. Yeah, no, really appreciate this, Matt. This was super insightful. Anything else we didn't touch on that we should have, or did we hit on just about everything?
I think we covered it, but always available for more questions, and we appreciate the partnership and everything you guys do with our team.
Awesome. Thanks so much for joining us today. Have a good one.